take projection.
It's Friday morning, and you know what that means? It's time for another episode of the Alabama Slam Podcast. I'm your host, Corey Hanna.
What's going on, guys? It's Patrick Akers.
And we're going to get right into it. We've got a bunch of stuff to talk about this week. And the first thing we need to talk about is how fucking dirty they're doing our man's LA Knight.
I mean, we usually talk about the wrestling that happens on television every week. And you could make the argument that the loudest pop anybody got for this past week didn't even happen on TV. It was a dark match. The LA Knight coming out at Madison Square Garden, I guess officially turning babyface by attacking Hit Row, and was a digital exclusive on the YouTube channel.
Yeah, I didn't even know about it until you texted me today. And we're like, we got to start off talking about LA Knight's pop. And I was like, what are you talking about?
I mean, listen, there was a lot that happened on SmackDown Friday night. Y'all couldn't give my man 3 minutes.
Well, they gave the first goddamn 30 minutes to the Bloodline, which fine.
Yeah, I mean, deserves it. But 3 minutes. We couldn't do 3 minutes?
Yeah, because at first I was like, what? Why are we getting into a thing with Top Dollar? Hit Row. I was like, okay, well, this is not a thing. He just whooped their ass.
Yeah.
Like you said, it was just a way for them to turn him face, I guess.
It was a way for him to get out in front of the Madison Square Garden crowd. And if listeners haven't watched it, go find it on YouTube. Like, I'm not kidding when I say, like,
it'll take you 3 minutes.
It'll take you 3 minutes, and the LA Knight pop is the biggest, one of the biggest of the week. That was,
yeah,
it's crazy.
Yeah, they're doing him dirty. This stuff with Triple H talking about, yeah, we listen to the fans and we give, he's like, we do what the fans want. Not right now, you ain't.
So, tinfoil hat. Here we go. Could this be that they did this on purpose and put this on YouTube so that guys like me and you would say that they're doing our boy LA Knight dirty, so that he then gets even more crowd support when he comes out next time, because podcasters like you and I are like, oh, they still don't want to push LA Knight, thus making him an even bigger babyface than what he is.
Well, maybe, but like, we talked last week about how Cody was the most over babyface in WWE, but I mean, right now, LA Knight is more over than Cody Rhodes.
Well, there's similar pops for sure.
Yeah,
which is crazy because Cody has a history, right, of being in WWE. LA Knight, this rise has only happened for 4 months, 3 months. It's a very short amount of time. Since you and I have been doing this podcast, we haven't seen anybody rise up the ranks as quickly as what LA Knight has.
Well, no, the match with Bray Wyatt, the Mountain Dew match, was his first real big match.
Yeah. And you can go back and I'm sure if you listen to this podcast, we were like, LA Knight has a lot of potential, but I
think I was probably shitting on him, if I'm being real.
And I mean, the crowd really wasn't responding to him in this kind of way. I mean, it is night and day difference. It's crazy. The big question with LA Knight is, where does he go from here?
Well, they did come out and say after Money in the Bank that they had plans for him. So that leads me to think there'll be some sort of something at SummerSlam. And then I've been seeing things too. I did unfollow the one place that kept pissing me off on Facebook all the time. I said I was going to unfollow them. I unfollowed them. But I've seen things that said, okay, well, there could be something big at SummerSlam. And then I've seen other things from, former wrestlers or execs or people going on podcasts and talking about he don't necessarily need a strap to have a big run, which is true. But
I would disagree with that just because he is new to the audience. A guy like Cody doesn't need the strap to have a run he's on, but he also has a built-in history with the WWE audience.
Yeah.
LA Knight is brand new. I mean, he's been grinding. Eli Drake has been grinding on the indies and the Impact and everywhere else, even doing like Aldi commercials. Have you been seeing all the local?
I was going to ask, that was one of my topics, was have you seen all the
his
the workout videos and
the workout video? He was in like an insurance commercial. He's in a grocery store commercial. I mean, my man was just out here trying to get a check. Just full on with the hustle.
The rent don't pay itself.
It don't pay itself. But like that United States title is just dangling out there. Austin Theory's doing nothing with that title.
Yeah.
That seems like just an easy thing for them to pull the trigger on. Give LA Knight this United States title and see what he does.
He'd be doing more with it than Austin Theory.
Yeah, and I think Austin has a lot of potential going forward, but whatever he's doing right now, it's kind of getting stale a little bit.
You can take it off him now, and it's not going to hurt him because he's 24.
No.
He's got plenty of time, right?
Yeah.
He's had a little run. Fine. That's cool.
And you also have a built-in story there with LA Knight could come out and be like, look, I'm a self-made man. Nobody ever gave me anything. Here you are. You're the boss's chosen one. Like, you've gotten everything. I mean, that's an easy story to tell right there.
Yeah.
So I think that's probably where they go. That's probably what Triple H was alluding to. Like, hey, we don't want him to win Money in the Bank because, like, kind of like what we talked about. You probably don't want to take the belt off Seth anytime soon. And, you have an over babyface like Seth and then another over babyface like LA Knight. You don't necessarily want them going up against each other. So I think that U.S. title is just out there. That's probably where they go at SummerSlam. That seems to be the easy thing to do.
Yeah, because we were talking about a couple things that we could end up seeing at SummerSlam, and I mean, they don't have anything in the books for Theory at this point. Yeah,
and he was on this edition of SmackDown, right? Against like one of the Viking Raiders. Am I making that up? Somebody?
No, that was
that last week?
Alpha Academy.
Alpha.
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't remember. It's just unmemorable right now.
Yeah, that's part of the problem.
It's not in my notes.
Yeah, that's part of the problem.
Yeah, that's the choice probably because it looks like Gunther and Drew McIntyre are going to be in a thing probably at SummerSlam.
Yeah.
And that'll be fucking good. So, yeah, I think we just solved the problem.
There we go. Listen to us.
Yeah. So let's move on. Like I said, we're going to do quick hitters because we got a Google Doc full of stuff here. Asuka, Bianca Belair, Charlotte Flair, and there was an EO Sky segment with all of them. It looked like EO almost cashed in. I thought we were fixing to get the cash in. And when we talked last week about how the women will go like 3 days and cash in. And she's held it for longer than any female has held the Money in the Bank.
Also, how does that work? Because Bayley had the briefcase. So is Bayley allowed to cash it in? And is that why the referee didn't grab it from her immediately? Because there was if you go back and watch a segment, there was a delay where the ref's just not grabbing it. And Bayley's like, take it. So is that like some little rules there where the ref's like, I can't.
Yeah, good question.
I can't take it. Because I don't think you have her cash in. When she cashes in, it's going to be on a pay-per-view. It's not going to be on SmackDown, I don't think. Yeah. But I like this triple threat between Charlotte and Bianca and Asuka. It's shaping up nicely. I like the heel Bianca. Just because I think, we talked about she was kind of having the John Cena treatment going on. Where it was just kind of like the LOL Bianca wins. It doesn't matter who she goes against. Yeah. So now she's got a little bit of an edge to her, and it's cool to see. It's nice to see Charlotte. I think the three of those women will have a really good match, and you have to think that that's going to happen at SummerSlam too. By the way,
so I totally skipped over the first thing in my notes because I just assumed that I had LA Knight first. So the trial of Roman Reigns started SmackDown, right?
That was it. Yeah.
36-minute segment.
Yeah, it's a long one.
About 20 minutes in, I was like, okay, well, I'm going to keep a clock on this and see where it runs. And it ran to 7:36. And then after that, we got a recap after the break as Jimmy is being taken out via the stretcher and ambulance. So you just knew that, Jay would come back later on.
Yeah, particularly when the main event was Edge and Grayson Waller.
Yeah.
And it came on at like an hour and a half into the show, and I was like, well, they're not doing 30 minutes with these two.
Yeah, because normally with the main event comes on around like 8:43, 8:44 on SmackDown.
It's usually about 15 minutes. Yeah. Entrances and all. So, yeah. I mean, listen, we come on this podcast every single week, and we talk about how awesome the Bloodline story is, how awesome Roman Reigns is. They just continue to make captivating television. I said it last week, man. We're going to be sad when this thing ends because this is an all-timer. I don't know where you put it in terms of the greatest stories WWE's ever told. I'm only 32 years old. I don't have the kind of... I wasn't watching WWE or WWF in the 80s, but...
They didn't have... No. They didn't have anything like this.
Since I've been a wrestling fan... The only story that I can think of, for me personally, that even comes close to touching this Bloodline Civil War is Sting versus the NWO. The only problem is with Sting versus the NWO, it ended like a damn wet fart. It was awful. All right. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, you go Google it. It was Sting and Hogan. Should have been the match of the century. There's a fast count. And it's, oh my God. I'm sure Conrad and Bischoff have a podcast on it. Go listen to it. Just ended awfully. You know, we've yet to see how they're going to land this plane with Roman and Jay and all those involved. I think it's going to probably end in spectacular fashion to where we really are going to be talking about this. Is this the greatest story that WWE has ever told?
Yeah. I've got more notes. It says Roman's back in the ring with 7 minutes left. Jay comes back through the crowd. He and Solo get after it. He hits Roman with the chair, continues to whip Solo's ass. Jay is in the ring by himself at the end with the belt, looking pretty badass. And then Jay says that he's the judge, jury, and executioner. Challenges Roman to a match.
So they're going to do Roman and Jay at SummerSlam. But if you'll go back at the beginning of SmackDown when they were all brawling, there was a moment where the title was laying in the middle of the ring, you know, and Solo was staring at it. And the Usos were kind of in other opposite corners of each other to where they were almost set up perfectly. Like, are they going to do a 4-way for this belt? Which I'm all for. Like, you have to think, we got to stretch this thing out to WrestleMania somehow.
Yeah, I mean, there was the moment, you know, where Solo picked up the belt and was just kind of looking at it before he handed it to Roman.
So, I mean, a 4-way at Survivor Series, Roman, Jimmy, Jay, and Solo for the right to be called the Tribal Chief, the head of the table, and for the undisputed WWE Championship. Give me that all day long. I'm down for that.
I've seen some speculation online that, you know, they could just put it on Solo at the end of all this. I don't think that's the move.
No, I don't think so either.
Not immediately.
I mean, this will end with Cody Rhodes being the undisputed WWE champion. I mean, at WrestleMania next year, right? I mean, that's what everyone is thinking. Of course, we all thought that last year at WrestleMania. We were all wrong. We didn't know this was coming, though. We didn't know that they had this in the chamber that we're waiting. And by the time we get to WrestleMania next year, we will have already told all this Bloodline story stuff. Like, Roman will be going into next year's WrestleMania in Philadelphia completely, no pun intended, solo. And you have to think Cody topples him at that point. But yeah, up until then, like, how are they going to stretch this thing out? Like, we have that question every week, and then they come produce great television week in and week out. So, I mean, I'm just along for the ride at this point. I'm enjoying every bit of it.
Yeah, I mean, nobody was falling for Roman handing over the necklace to Jay.
No.
You can see the nut shot coming from a fucking mile away.
But Roman's so great, though, because Roman's not wrong. Like Roman is the only one in that group that knows the pressure of what it's like to be a champion, right? He knows what it's like to stand in the middle of the ring and have an entire arena full of people boo you because they're like, you're not our guy.
Yeah.
He knows what it's like to be the one, making the towns as the champion, doing these house shows, night in and night out, doing media, like constantly being on the grind. And like he said, not only to support his family, but to support everybody's family, right? When he looks at Jimmy and Jay and is like, you guys are nothing without me, he's not wrong.
He's not. I mean, he's not. I mentioned last week I didn't give two shits about the Usos before the Bloodline.
That's what makes a villain character so compelling, is that when they are able to look at a situation and diagnose it correctly, it's just that their actions are what make them go sideways. You know what I mean? Like when Darth Vader's like, I want to bring peace to the galaxy. You're like, okay, well, that's an admirable cause. But then he's like, oh, but I'm just going to do it. I'm going to kill everybody. Right. Yeah. Or Thanos. I'm going to bring balance to the universe, but I'm going to snap half the people away and turn them into dust. It's like, okay, well, that's where it goes extreme. Right. So, like I said last week, that's what makes Roman such a compelling villain character. That's what I think makes him the best villain in wrestling history. And he just continues to just add to that legacy week in and week out.
Yeah, let's move to Raw unless you've got anything else you want to cover from there, because we've got a lot to hit on Raw.
No, because I mean, all of SmackDown was just the Bloodline.
Yeah, I mean,
that's all it was.
More than half of it. I said 36 minutes, but then they did the little recap after the break, and then they had 7 minutes of stuff at the end.
And they did the recap on Monday Night Raw. They ran it again.
That's true.
So, like, if you're missing this, they're going to show it to you.
Yeah, you're going to find out.
Yeah.
So, Raw Monday night, Finn Balor says that Damian cost him at Money in the Bank. Rhea tries to make him be quiet so they can talk about it privately. Finn leaves the ring. Rhea tells the crowd that what we just saw is their business and the Judgment Day still runs things. Seth walks out eating chicken wings. I love it. Says that he's there to see Judgment Day implode. Says that he's going to whip Dom's ass later and drops the mic and walks off eating chicken wings. I was laughing my ass this whole time.
This is fantastic.
Just fucking perfect. So you put, big question is, does this make the Judgment Day and or Finn look stupid? Why do they not have a plan?
Yeah, that's what I'm going to ask you. Like, okay. And we hit on this a little bit last week. Everyone knew Damian Priest was in the Money in the Bank ladder match. Therefore, if you and I are in a group, okay, I'm wrestling the champion. You're wrestling for a chance to win a thing that allows you to cash in on the champion. Would you and I not have a backstage meeting where we talk about, okay, if you win, we're going to do X, Y, and Z. If I win, we're going to do this. Like, this either it makes the Judgment Day look weak, and it makes Finn in particular, I think, look like a complete buffoon.
Yeah, you talked a while back about should they switch and make Ripley the leader, which I thought was a great idea. And then with her coming out and being like, hey, not out here in front of everybody.
Yeah.
That's more like a leader move than like anything that Finn has exhibited, right?
Yeah, and we talked about this. Like, who's the leader in a group? It's the person that's wearing the title. That's the leader. Doesn't matter what title it is. That's who it is. And Rhea Ripley is the de facto leader of that group. Now, the interesting thing is going to be, is this setting up a potential face turn for Finn? Is it setting up a potential face turn for Damian Priest? I think we probably get babyface Finn Balor again.
I didn't think about that. I've been just assuming that we would see Priest as the face.
We'll see that. I don't know, but Finn is the guy that's left out in the dark, right? You even saw it. So after Rhea came out, told Finn to go to the back, they had a backstage segment where Damian kind of apologized, and when Damian and Rhea and Dom walked off, Finn was left looking confused like an idiot. Again, though, I would just say I think this thing is way more compelling of a story. And I know I have a soft spot for this guy. If Dominic Mysterio had the Money in the Bank briefcase, this story has a lot of really interesting angles they could take.
Yeah.
Because nobody buys Damian as a world champion, right? But he's got the briefcase. That makes him dangerous. Plus, he's got Damian and Finn on his side. So Damian and Finn you could potentially set up even you wouldn't do this, but like a babyface Dom turn, where Dom wins the championship by the help of Damian and Finn, and then they sucker him into giving him the first title shot, and this is a bad idea now that I'm saying it out loud, but like, I think if Dom is the one holding the briefcase, it's way more interesting.
Yeah. So I do have a note about they were going to do Dom versus Seth. Judgment Day gets involved before the bell even rings, and Sammy and Kevin Owens come out to help Seth.
Yeah.
So then that sets up at the end Judgment Day versus Seth, Sammy, and KO, which was fun.
Yeah.
Dom sold the hell out of the stunner from Kevin Owens. I laughed so fucking hard at that.
Kevin Owens, again, the only man who understands the rules of wrestling and what you are and aren't supposed to do.
Yeah.
Continues to be upset because people are breaking the unwritten rule of no one says your name. You cannot come in here until we say your name. Then you can walk in.
And then you just happen to be standing there.
Yeah. Yeah. He's great. I also love they've done this quite a bit in WWE now in recent months. And it's such an old school move. Like, a babyface is getting beat down and like other babyfaces just come out to make the save. It used to be like, there'd be a good guy getting beat down in the ring and you'd be like, damn, this dude has no friends. Ain't nobody coming out to help him. And now it's like, okay, I mean, Seth and Kevin and Seth have had their history with each other, right? But everyone has a common enemy against the Judgment Day. So now they come out and, classic little babyface thing. That used to happen in NWA all the time. But,
yeah, I love it.
Yeah, you gotta love it.
I texted you totally off topic from Raw, but I texted you the other day. I ran up on clips of Kevin Steen versus El Generico in the Mask versus Leave Ring of Honor.
Yeah, man.
I'm going to have to buy a Ring of Honor subscription for a month just to find that whole match. The highlights on that somebody posted on TikTok were fucking off the rails. That shit was insane.
That was such a special time in wrestling. And in independent American wrestling. Because you got to remember, at this time, this was the height of the John Cena era. Really wasn't a lot of compelling stuff happening in WWE. I think CM Punk might have been kind of around this time, maybe. But no, you go back to Ring of Honor that time. Yeah, Steen and Generico. This is also Steen and Generico. That's kind of after the moment where like a lot of the big name Ring of Honor guys had already left, right? Danielson had left. Tyler Black, a.k.a. Seth Rollins, had left. And so those Steen and Generico were really kind of championing in that new era of Ring of Honor. And yeah, they had those set of matches, which is just incredible.
Insane.
They've pulled some of those spots out from those matches for other ladder matches, but they've never gone all the way, like in WWE, the way they did in Ring of Honor like that.
I mean, I didn't want to get us off too long on that, but I just needed to bring it up because when I texted you the other day, I was like, I gotta seek out this whole thing.
Yeah, it's wild.
So the last note I have about Raw is that it looks like we're going to get Cody and Brock for a third match, which I assume will be SummerSlam.
Yeah, it's got to be. Is there a stip for this match, though?
I don't think so. I think he just was like, hey, rubber match, we got to do it.
You got to put these dudes in a Hell in a Cell. You got to.
I don't think they might get there.
They haven't said yet. But I think the Hell in a Cell should be Cody's match. Coming off the injury of the pec. That's what made him so iconic in this new run. That has to be the match that he has where he's like, okay, we get inside here, I'm taking you out, and we're done with this thing forever. So that's what I would do. Whether or not that's what they do, we'll I guess we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, that seems like that's
because you have to think
choice.
Cody wins this, right?
Sure.
Because I don't foresee a reason why Brock would go over. Especially if you have plans for Cody, main eventing WrestleMania next year.
Yeah. So let's switch gears to AEW, and we'll start with Collision on Saturday night. I've seen a lot of discussions this week online about the fact that they sprung for a licensed song instead of the generic, like hard rock, low chugging fireworks, pyrotechnics sort of thing that Rampage and Dynamite do. And they did the Elton John song, and a lot of people were loving it. What I found interesting was that Punk came out while Saturday Night Is All Right for Fighting.
Yeah.
And it was like 20 seconds outside, when he was out, still running around the ring, I think outside the ring. I was like, okay, well, normally you want to hit their music so that you get that pop. But I don't know. It was just something that was different. It felt different. And I don't know if they did that purposefully or what, but I don't know. I just thought that it was interesting and that it should be noted.
I mean, Cult of Personality is a cool song. But if you got Saturday Night's All Right for Fighting, you just can't turn that off in the middle of it and start playing Cult of Personality, I don't think. You got to let Elton John keep on rocking. Come on, you can't cut him off.
That's true.
Nobody cuts off Sir Elton John in the middle. So Punk comes out. Maybe that should just be Punk. I know Cult of Personality is so iconic for Punk. Why not just do Saturday Night's All Right for Fighting as Punk's song?
Well,
probably doesn't work as well as an entrance song.
Yeah, my other note was that by them doing that, it was them leaning into the fact that this is Punk's show.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, that's without question at this point, right? It's Punk's show.
Is that he can come out to Cult of Personality or he can come out to Elton John. And he seemed pretty over, I know he's gotten some boos here and there, but
that's important to note. So it's going to be cool to watch as Collision keeps going forward and he goes to these different buildings in these different cities, how the crowd responds. Because you're right, Saturday night was a lot of heavy cheers for CM Punk. Now,
well, and also they bring him out, and then he comes back later for his match. AEW hasn't done a lot of that. Typically, you don't see the person until it's time for their match.
Right.
You sure don't see them at the top of the show.
Yeah. And
then in the final match, right? In the headliner. So, main event. I just thought it was an interesting choice.
But that, I think, is what has made Collision, honestly, since it's been on television, a better show than Dynamite, because it's not that necessarily the roster is smaller, but the scale of the stories they're trying to tell are way smaller. Because let's think about Collision. The stories they're only telling right now are CM Punk, whatever he's involved in, FTR versus Bullet Club Gold, Andrade versus House of Black. That's really it that they're telling on Collision exclusively.
Yeah, they're featuring Miro, but there's no real story
He
yet.
just comes out and was like, who gives a damn about my hot double-jointed wife? I'm on a rampage against God.
Yeah.
I don't know who the hell he's going to fight. I guess we'll find somebody. But really, the whole show's revolved around 3 stories, and that's it. And it's made the show really lean. The show flies by, and it's narrowed its focus a lot. And the way that if we look at Dynamite, well, on Dynamite we have damn Hook and Jungle Boy doing whatever the hell they're doing. You got Chris Jericho. You got Blackpool Combat Club and the Elite. You got the Outsiders going up against whoever. Sky Blue, Britt will be back. You got MJF and Adam Cole. I mean, that's just 5 I can name off the top of my head. I'm sure there's others.
Yeah.
So, like, Collision is just because it is Punk. And now, based off an interview Malachi's given, he said House of Black, or at least him exclusively, Malachi wants to be on Collision. So it limits your choices. And that's actually been a good thing, I think. That's why I think Collision has been a better show.
Yeah, you mentioned a week or two ago that you thought that you could see it becoming the A show. And I was thinking about that earlier when I was walking the dog. I was like, for my money right now, I mean, we're only, 3-4 weeks in? Like,
yeah.
It's more entertaining for sure.
I think cohesively it's a better product.
Yeah.
I still think in terms of like through WWE and AEW, I think SmackDown is still the better show out of all of them. But again, we look at SmackDown. What stories are they really telling on SmackDown? The Bloodline. That's it. The whole show revolves around that.
Yeah.
So I think that's kind of the key that maybe they've unlocked a little bit with Collision. And I hope that they kind of, Tony Khan and the creative community kind of use that formula going forward with Dynamite. Because I do think you could par down some of the Dynamite stuff a little bit.
Yeah, and there's going to be some good shit on Saturday night, and I'm going to be busy Saturday evening, so I probably won't watch it until Sunday afternoon.
Yeah. Be a lot.
Yeah. So next up that I've got notes for, Ricky Starks gets the win over Hobbs after a quarrel between Hobbs and Marshall. So it looks like they're going to be splitting up Hobbs out of the QTV group pretty soon, which is fine.
Yeah, but where does Hobbs go from? Where's Hobbs go from there?
They haven't quite figured out what to do with him.
There's a lot of guys in AEW that just have no direction. Right. Wardlow, post losing the TNT title, nowhere to be found.
Yeah.
Hobbs, same thing.
I thought that they were setting something up interesting that they were gonna do with the Book of Hobbs stuff, but it's just kind of floundered. I feel like it could be something like if they pick the right story element.
Yeah, and you have to give it time. You got to give it time on the show every week to get it over. Like that's the thing that's not even an AEW thing. That's a wrestling thing 101. You want something to get over, you got to give it time on TV. You can't just like have it be hit and miss where, Hobbs is on TV one week and then he's gone for 3 weeks and he shows back up. Like people lose interest. The culture and the way people consume content nowadays, everything moves so fast. You kind of have to do a little bit like the Bloodline stuff and kind of beat people over the head with a little bit. Like, hey, 30 minutes off the top of the show. Then we're going to recap it. Then we're going to come back at the end. Then when you're watching Monday Night Raw, we're going to recap it again in case you missed it. It's going to be all over our social media channels. Like, it's kind of how you have to do it nowadays.
Yeah. I mean, look, I know we both of us picked Ricky for this one because we wanted to see Ricky versus CM Punk.
Yeah.
It's just, I don't know. I felt like they were going in a decent direction with Hobbs and then they put him with QT and it's just been like,
yeah.
So maybe they'll figure out something at some point. I feel like he could have some potential. They just haven't figured out exactly what yet. So
also, where the hell's Johnny TV? Johnny TV showed up And he's gone now.
Yeah, who knows?
Whatever.
Probably on Rampage. I did watch Rampage, but I don't have any notes about Rampage.
And they got that girl. She's rapping now. The rap I didn't think was bad, honestly. If I'm being totally honest, I didn't think it was that bad.
We were watching last night. She starts rapping. They did her little segment. I was like, well, if JR were here, he would call her a Jezebel.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I don't, it's whatever. I don't understand it. But it's not for me to understand, I don't guess. So next on the notes, mask segment with Malachi Black. He's got Andrade's match and he's talking about the significance of it and et cetera, et cetera. And this is going to be one for I say it's going to be one for the books. Like, if you get Malachi and Andrade in a ring together, I think it's just going to be badass. Yeah,
I'm just waiting for the match. I don't really care about these promos. Promos are good. I just want to see these two dudes fight. My man Andrade, my new favorite wrestler, has not wrestled in 2 weeks, 3 weeks. What are we doing here?
So his last one was what, Brody King?
Yeah. Even if he comes out, I don't care what he does. Hits a spinning elbow on a jobber. I just want to see him. I want to see the entrance. I want to see Andrade strut around the ring, hit that damn back elbow, 1, 2, 3. I'm a simple man. That's all I want. I don't need Andrade in the back, although his promo skills, listen. For Andrade to have English as a second language, I know it's not supposed to be funny. Let me say that. But Andrade has a swagger and a charisma about him, even in these one-liner promos. It just puts a smile on my face.
Okay, look, we talked about this a couple weeks ago. You talked about his look, his in-ring, everything. Put him in a suit backstage, and he just slowly takes those sunglasses off and folds them. Everything about it, and he's just talking. He's real slow and deliberate. Yeah. Like you said, English is a second language. So when sometimes people get a little in over their heads, right? I feel like with him, he's just taking his time.
He's tranquilo, baby.
Tranquilo, baby.
Tranquilo. That's all he is. That's what right. He is.
I love it.
And then he goes out and he beats ass in the ring.
And looks fucking amazing.
So this match would be a banger between these two. I just want to get to it. I don't know when they're going to get to it. Probably All In, I guess. Do they stretch it out that long? It's down August 27th.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, I don't know if I can wait that long.
Come on, man.
Yeah.
Because you've already burned through the House of Black. I mean, he ain't going to fight Julia.
Let him fight Julia. Let Julia eat a back elbow. You can do it on Fight Forever. If you got Fight Forever, you can do the men versus the women. Why can't AEW be progressive and let Julia eat a back spinning elbow real quick?
I mean, GCW does it.
It's good enough for them.
Yeah. We'll get to the winner. Well, no, wrong match. Sorry. Don't know where I was going there. So next on the notes, FTR versus Bullet Club Gold. And then my notes just said, can we run this back every week? So then I said they announced 2 out of 3 falls next week for the championship. And you said the whole match was just a throwback. Not any huge complicated spots. There were no dives, just good classic tag team wrestling. You could have ran this match in Tupelo in 1988 and it wouldn't have looked out of place.
Yeah. You could have put this anything, any area. 1979, 1982. You could have run it in down Madison Square Garden. You could have run it down there in Dothan, Alabama. Like, wouldn't have mattered. Good, old school, classic tag team wrestling will always get over. There is a magic to it that when you get 4 guys like this that just know the formula and are just all of them are just fantastic in the ring, you create amazing matches. And like I said, no dives, no huge spots. If I asked you to even remember a spot in that match, you probably can't remember one. There were really good sequences.
Yeah, I didn't make any notes. I don't typically make a lot of notes on those spots unless something's really funny.
But nobody's doing a 630 right out of the ring, right?
Right.
They're just, it looks like a fight. Looks like these 4 dudes are struggling to get the win.
Well, and there was a lot of drama in it too. A lot of, is like 2 3/4 of a count, right?
Yeah, and you get the heels are getting real heat. And they're building to that hot tag, right? That's all tag team wrestling is. You build to the hot tag. They were building to it. This is the first time I've seen Jay White consistently. I've watched some matches here and there. That dude's better than what was advertised. He is phenomenal inside the ring.
Our most popular TikTok right now, we're on TikTok, y'all, at Alabama Slam Pod. Our most popular one right now is about the Ospreay / Omega match.
Yeah.
Where we were raving about Ospreay and, backing the truck up to his house, and people, it's funny because it's like nobody's clearly read the comments and nobody's listened to the rest of the podcast, but like 1 billion of the comments say Ospreay said he's not coming to America. I'm like, okay, well, that's not the fucking point of this, right? But there were a couple people that were like, I mean, we already got Jay White, and just fucking put it on him and let him run with it. Like, he's the same age as Ospreay and just as good in a bunch of different ways.
Yeah. I mean, listen, I think AEW's got one. He's a dude. He's a star for real. Like, I jokingly have said about Jay White that he's everything we wanted Adam Cole to be. I don't think I'm entirely wrong in that kind of critique of Adam Cole and Jay White. Like, similar builds, except Jay White is shredded completely, like long hair. Jay's a great promo.
And you also got him with fucking Juice Robinson,
who is
just putting a fucking mic in front of him, right?
Juice continues to just be entertaining as hell. And then you get them across the ring from FTR, who are probably one of the top tag teams of their generation, if not the most, the best tag team of their generation. These 4 dudes they made magic, right? It's a little bit like, I kind of like thinking about wrestling in terms of other things. This is kind of be like if you just got 4 really good musicians. Like, we're just going to get in a room and jam, And because they're so good individually, the collective art that they make also becomes good. So, and what's even crazier to think about is, right, these guys really, because they knew this 2 out of 3 falls match was coming up, they kind of held back a lot of stuff. So what the hell is this 2 out of 3 falls match going to be?
Yeah,
like?
So we get that Saturday night.
Yeah.
We get Punk versus Starks.
Yeah.
Ruby versus who's in the other bracket?
Oh, I don't remember.
And I was excited about it. Anyway, ignore that part, y'all. Saturday is going to be fucking great. And they've only announced one match for Battle of the Belts at this point, so I don't know what the other ones are going to be.
Yeah, that's another thing. 3 hours coming up Saturday night of live wrestling. Here's the thing, like, do they let Bullet Club Gold win the titles? I don't think so. But
yeah, I don't think so yet.
If you're in the writer's room, you throw that up on the board, like, okay, what happens if they win? Where does the story keep going from here? But man, this was fantastic all the way around. Just classic. Like I said, it's an old school throwback.
Yeah.
Gotta love it.
So last up for the collision that we're going to talk about is CM Punk versus Samoa Joe. Would have been 18 years since the last time they squared off.
Yeah, and it kind of looked like it was 18 years since they squared off. Listen, the matches they had back in the day. Okay, you talked about the Generico Steen stuff in Ring of Honor. Also in Ring of Honor, you had fucking Punk versus Joe. And we probably should do a podcast episode about this at some point. Like, what happens if Samoa Joe goes to WWE and CM Punk goes to TNA? People tend to forget in Ring of Honor, Samoa Joe was the bigger star. Now, obviously, Punk eclipsed him, right, from the WWE stuff. But, this looked like 2 older guys. But that was kind of the appeal of it, right? Like, they didn't try to wrestle like they would have when they were fucking 26 years old. It looked like 2 older guys going to battle. So that was kind of cool. But yeah, having seen the Punk versus Joe matches, and they had some callbacks, but it was like, oh yeah, you can tell it's been a minute since y'all squared off.
So do you think they go Punk or Starks for the Owen Hart title?
It probably is going to be Punk, right? But Punk could be like, fuck it, I don't want to do it. Give it to Ricky.
I mean, in theory, that's a good way to, thank Ricky for what he's done the last couple years.
There's that.
Right?
Yeah.
Because they haven't put a title on him yet. I mean, you don't want to count FTR.
Yeah, the FTW title wasn't a real title. And Ricky had that run here earlier this year, or was it late last year in December against MJF? Yeah. And Ricky has the potential to be a top guy in a company, I think. So, yeah, it'd be cool to see what direction they go with it. Also, what's the crowd response going to be like? Because basically it's been 50-50 whether he gets booed or cheered.
Yeah. Yeah, it's going to be...
and people love Ricky.
Yeah,
the people love Ricky. Ricky loved the people.
Ricky loved the people. Listen, Team Ricky, we've been established a Team Ricky podcast.
We have a very, not to pat ourselves on the back, we have a very good track record of picking people at the beginning that then get over, like Rover, a couple months later. Our best is probably Jamie Hayter.
That was all you, because I was not on the hater train.
I have been a hater my whole life. I've been singing the praises of that woman. I'm so sad she's off TV, but you have to think she's going to make a comeback at All In against Toni Storm, and it's going to be glorious. She's the best women's wrestler in the world. Anyway, we also picked Ricky Starks. We've talked extensively about Eddie Kingston.
Yeah.
We told y'all Wardlow wasn't going to be anything. And
I don't know. I think I was on the Wardlow train for a little bit. I bought the hype.
Wardlow has the same exact, and I know I'm going on a tangent. We'll get back to Collision. Wardlow has the same problem that Ricochet has, which is there's nothing there. Like, they're good in the ring. They got to look. They get on the microphone, and it's just nothing.
Yeah.
Ricochet had that standoff against Logan Paul Monday night. Logan Paul's been doing this for what? A cup of coffee? Dude looked like he was the absolute megastar and has been doing wrestling for 20 years. And Ricochet just gets on microphone. Nothing he says sounds believable. Wardlow's got the same problem. There's a lot of dudes in wrestling that have that kind of problem. Anyway, that was a tangent. But yeah, CM Punk's cool. Did you? And again, if the dirt sheets are to be believed, did you see the rumor that Punk offered to be the fifth man of Blackpool?
I saw that, and I'm not gonna lie. I was sitting there watching it last night. Like, okay, what if this really happens?
I mean, first of all, if that story is true, that's absolutely hilarious. Because it was probably a situation like this where he's just in the back at catering, right? Tony walks in and he's just probably like, "Hey, Tony, who's the fifth member of Blackpool Combat Club? I'll do it."
Like in front of everybody.
Yeah, just hey, fucking let me do it. It's hilarious.
I need to figure out where these clips are coming from. Just on while we're talking about Punk, there was TikTok the other day. It was Punk, Britt, and I don't remember who, Christian Cage, and somebody else in the car, and they were singing Cult of Personality.
Oh, that's cool.
Have you seen that?
I haven't seen that one. No.
And they got to the part about Mussolini, and Britt's like, "Who's Mussolini?"
Oh, God.
And Punk was like, "This is what's wrong with our country right now." And then there was another one today of somebody else in the car that was funny. I don't know where those are coming from, but I would love to see more of them.
Yeah.
That's kind of shit we were talking about. Like, they need to put a camera following Takeshita.
Yeah.
And just make that
it's just easy content.
Yeah.
You don't even have to think about it.
Yeah. So let's move to Dynamite. The first thing I made notes on was the MJF Adam Cole segment. And you said MJF is going to be a damn megastar when it finally happens. The chemistry between him and Cole is great. And the cutaway shot of Roderick in a neck brace watching the TV with a pure look of disgust in his face has to be a new meme template. My only complaint about that pre-taped segment last night was that it felt stale. They needed another director, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's something to be desired production-wise there.
Yeah. They need to bring in somebody with a storytelling background other than like the cameraman that's used to filming live events.
Yeah.
That was really the only thing that stood out to me. Yeah. I thought it was funny as shit when he was like, "Okay, but I'll wear the shirt, but you got to do what I want to do.
Yeah.
And then it's them playing fucking Fight Forever. I thought that was hilarious. And speaking of throwback wrestling, how like people were just fucking going over for a body slam, right?
Dude, it's great. That's what I'm telling you. Listen, when MJF becomes a babyface, the dude is going to be money. He's already money. We talked about this before with MJF. I'm dead serious when I say this dude has the potential, and it seems like he has the drive to be the greatest professional wrestler of all time.
I mean, he's got everything.
Everything. There's not a single thing in wrestling he does that is not exceptional. He is exceptional in the ring. But he doesn't show it, right? Because he's a heel. But you even see it in the moments Wednesday night where I think it was, what was it? Brian Cage goes to throw a clothesline and he does the backflip into things like sneaky athletic that he just shows off when he needs to. On the microphone, I mean, Jesus Christ, we already know how good he is on that. And then just the wherewithal to know, like, okay, this is what corny baby faces have always done. And I'm going to do it, and I'm going to corn it up even more to the point to where they honestly are the most entertaining tag team in wrestling right now.
Yeah, but he's still got that edge of being a piece of shit, you know, coming back to the bar, like zipping his pants up right in front of the fucking bar.
Yeah.
After he'd been with those 4 women.
But it's just like, it's classic, again, like classic old school babyface stuff. And he's just nailing it to perfection.
Yeah, I laughed again as much as I did last week. It's still funny when he's running circles around Adam Cole.
Yeah.
Before the Adam Cole baby part in his intro.
He's got the boom part down where like everything about it is just great. Adam Cole, the reveal of him wearing the Better Than You Baby shirt, which first of all, Better Than You Baby, that's a hell of a catchphrase. Yeah. And I might need to buy me one of these damn shirts. Okay, because we know how this, well, I'll get to that in a second. This is not going to end well for this tag team. Like, they're not going to continue to be a thing. So Better Than You Baby would just be a cool shirt to kind of have as an item, collector's item. Here's my question to you, though. Everybody thinks it's going to be MJF that turns on Adam Cole, right? What if they do a double turn here? Well,
that was one of the things that I wanted to ask you was, so MJF has been heel. Cole has been a face since he came back, right?
But was a heel when he left. The only thing that made him a babyface was the concussion and the recovery.
So that was my question was, how do they do this? Do they turn... I didn't think about a double turn. Do they turn MJF face and turn Cole heel? Because I was kind of interested to see the Cole face run for the next year or so.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's going to go sideways sooner rather than later.
Because they had a little Easter egg in that backstage segment when they're playing video games like what you were talking about. And Adam says, oh, you didn't play video games, you didn't play multiplayer games? And MJF said you had to have friends to do that. He's putting himself out there. And we know his history of bullying. He's mentioned that on the show before. That's all in kayfabe now. Like, in the kayfabe reality of the show, like, we know that MJF was bullied when he was a younger kid. I don't know, man. I've been telling y'all there's money in a babyface MJF stuff. And because MJF turning on Adam Cole is too obvious. I'm not saying it won't be good when it happens and these two guys won't have a good feud. But that's so predictable. Why not try to switch it up? Now, the only reason you might not switch it up is because Mr. Edward Kingston is over in Japan right now.
Yeah.
And when he comes back, he's the guy that you want to take the title off MJF. And if that's the case, then you have to keep MJF as a heel.
Yeah.
So that you can get the huge babyface Eddie Kingston run. But if that's not in the cards for the end of this year, I don't know that I don't kind of just, hey, Max, we got something organic happening. We might need to drop the whole bidding war 2024 thing because
it's been a while.
He hasn't said it in a while, and you're about to be the babyface. The crowd kind of wants this, like you said. He got a holy shit chant from a damn body slam.
Yeah. And they were teasing up the double clothesline. So you got to think that's coming.
My
next
man
week,
got
right?
double clothesline written on his elbow pad. Okay. There was even a beautiful moment of just subtle storytelling where Adam Cole goes to hit the super kick, and I think it was Big Bill catches it. And Adam looks to MJF, and he's standing on the apron. He's doing the eye poke thing, and Adam Cole eye pokes the guy. Like they got amazing chemistry. This has been so entertaining to watch.
That was the other TikTok I thought about. It was Hobbs, and I think it was maybe Ruby in the passenger seat, and MJF was in the back, and they were listening to DMX.
Yeah.
And they're up front, like singing and rapping, and they're like, MJF, you don't know this? He's like, no, I don't sing. I don't rap. And then you can see him back there, like kind of start swaying. And then all of a sudden he's like, stop, drop. he's singing along. It's awesome. Funny as shit.
He's great, man. Like I said in the when I was talking about Ospreay, like if I have MJF under contract long term, I feel good about my company. I'll figure the rest of it out. Like I got the guy. Because honestly, let's think about this for real. Roman Reigns is not going to keep doing this for the next 5 years.
No.
Okay, he's close to retirement. MJF is at the level of what a lot of NXT people are. He's around that same age, right? He's around the age of like Carmelo and Braun and all those guys in NXT. In a fantasy draft of people who are, let's say, under the age of like 28, who the hell's your first pick? It's going to be MJF.
Yeah.
I think Carmelo Hayes is going to be a huge star.
Yeah.
Dude has the looks, got everything. I don't know if he's MJF. And so as that crop of WWE stars age out, AJ Styles in his mid-40s. I mean, Seth Rollins is...
He's not a spring chicken anymore.
Yeah, I mean, he's not young in the grand scheme of things, right? Like, so I don't know. You got, if I got MJF under contract, I'm feeling good about the next, decade of my company, I think.
Yeah. So let's do a quick hit on Darby and Cassidy versus Garcia and Guevara. It looks like we'll get Garcia and Guevara versus MJF and Adam Cole, which could be interesting. They teased something coming with Guevara a couple weeks ago, and then he got interrupted. And then there were some moments between he and Garcia last night in the ring. You can feel something's kind of brewing there. It was an interesting match, and even Guevara didn't seem real happy with the way they won last night, right?
No, I mean, he goes back and gives the handshake to Darby. Good match. You're kind of keeping all these little different storylines that are going in one match. That's smart booking. The Daniel Garcia hip dance just continues. It's so stupid that it's great.
Yeah.
And it's cool to see a little bit more of his personality come out. And then, you have to think Cole and MJF versus Guevara and Garcia is going to be a good match.
Yeah. And then we saw Hager give the purple hat back to Jericho last night.
How much did that break your heart?
Broke my heart a lot, man. Broke my heart a lot.
Did AEW shop ever sell those purple hats?
They did.
They did.
Yeah. And I want one.
You need one now. Now it's a collector's item.
I mean, I like this hat.
What's the angle with Jericho and Callis?
They did the little package last night, and what was funny was I didn't even recognize that as Don Callis.
Yeah.
Well,
they made the joke about it. Yeah, but what's their end game here?
I don't know, man. Like, Jericho's not going to team up with the Blackpool Combat Club, right?
No, and is Takeshita is with Callis.
Yeah,
right?
and then they're kind of in line with the Combat Club.
Yeah.
I don't fucking know, man. Like,
I guess, there is a utility in having like a heel manager who has a bunch of different people, but Jericho doesn't need that manager, right?
Right.
Takeshita needs it, and there's some other people who could use a manager like that.
Yeah, they're playing into the nostalgia of it all with that, and I don't know where...
it's not really nostalgia because I don't give a shit about Don. I never watched Don Callis.
Yeah,
I don't really know the relationship between Jericho and Callis.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not saying that it's bad necessarily. I'm just saying I don't know what is going to happen.
Yeah. It'll be interesting. One thing I do want to spend a couple minutes on before we wrap up, Swerve Strickland versus Nick Wayne. I thought it was smart for them to give Nick a package last week and this week.
Yeah.
Right? So that's not just a kid making his debut.
Yep.
Swerve ended up winning. I saw a lot of people thinking that they would put it on Nick, let Nick get the win last night. And then you've got some notes. I've been reading all your fucking notes all night instead of just letting you say what you want to say. But you got some stuff you want to hit on.
Yeah, I mean, you got to give Swerve the win here because he's been the mainstay on television. He's one of the top heels in the company, and he's a guy that I think both you and I are eager to see kind of make the jump into the main event level scene in AEW. The biggest test that any wrestler can pass is, do you look like you belong? And Nick Wayne, when he came out of the tunnel, you're like, oh yeah. Like, sometimes it doesn't translate from the indie scene to the arenas, right? The bigger arenas, the bright lights, the cameras, it swallows people whole. It didn't do that to this kid.
Yeah.
Last night.
He showed out in Huntsville in January of this year. We saw him.
Yeah.
With the East West Express at GCW show. And I was curious how he would look versus somebody like Swerve, who he's had a couple matches with before in the last year or so. So that was probably smart to let him work with Swerve, who he knows, right?
But it's not like Nick Wayne is a dude that's green behind the ears. This dude has literally been wrestling all over the world. He's wrestled Swerve. He's wrestled Ospreay. He's wrestled Kenta. He just got back from a tour of Japan. Like, dare I say, he's probably the most decorated 18-year-old in professional wrestling history. Like, when you look, the only comparison I can make when I look at him is like Randy Orton. You go back and watch, like, Randy Orton in 2002 when he made his debut. You just saw the dude and you're like, oh, he's going to be a fucking star. Like, there's nothing. He's got everything. He's got the looks.
Yeah.
He's got the height. Like, if you go on the damn toxic ass squared circle live threads for AEW, there was a lot of body shaming stuff against Nick Wayne last night, being like, oh, dude looks like a string bean. I would also like to say, like, he's 18 and he literally just graduated high school.
Yeah.
So, like, he's not been able to be a full-time professional wrestler to the point where he eats and trains and takes all this stuff seriously because he's been studying for fucking trigonometry and geography. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So now he'll never have to use again in his life.
Because he's going to be a star.
Yeah.
I would bet all my money that Nick Wayne is going to be a big deal in professional wrestling. And if I'm AEW, what I hope Nick Wayne turns into is a Randy Orton, where you can look at this dude and be like, he's going to be the standard bearer for this company
for 20 years.
For 20 years. And there's going to be guys we can pair him with, and he is going to be a mainstay for our company for 2 decades. He's going to be involved in some great matches. And look, the match, the in-ring talent, that dude's got this. He's got it down. I mean, even the little bit of stuff you saw last night, he's insanely talented. It's the other stuff that he'll have to kind of work on, the mic skills, putting some weight on, but that stuff will come.
He hasn't had to do a ton of promos on the indies and stuff, and even that stuff you do on your phone and fucking send it to somebody to put on social, right?
Right, but I mean, he's got he has the unfortunate backstory of his father passing away. Like, he is going to be a natural, at least while he's young, a natural babyface. And the thing that I'll say too, the reason I would bet on this kid is just because if you went on wrestling Twitter last night, the amount of support and the amount of people that were like, I fucking love this kid, from other wrestlers like Allie Katch and Effie and all these people. This dude, Nick Wayne, sounds like just an amazing kid and a good person. And I would just bet on people like that.
Yeah, man. I'm excited. He showed out quite a bit last night. Solid ass match.
Yeah.
Doing some stuff you wouldn't expect to see from an 18-year-old.
And then he got his damn elbow snapped. And what was a nasty looking spot. That was great.
God
fantastic.
Damn, yeah, they sold the shit out of that.
And the selling. That's like, he's got it down, man. And like I said, he passed the test as soon as he walked out. That's the biggest test. I'm not kidding. Like, go back, anybody. Any of these dudes we said don't have it. You can kind of tell instantly when they come through. Nope, doesn't have it. I mean, you can't teach that. And he's got it.
Yeah. Had a little bit of swagger.
Yeah, fucking I would too. If I'm 18 years old and signed to a company, I've been all around the world. I'm a third generation wrestler. I've wrestled literally the best of the best the entire world has to offer. Like,
yeah, I didn't realize he'd been in the ring with Ospreay, and I saw a picture last night, and I think that tweet was just something to the effect of, yeah, this dude's going to be okay. It was just a picture of them in either's corner of the ring, like before the match. It's like, this guy's going to be all right.
he's going to be all right.
Yeah. Last thing we want to talk about, Pac was back last night. That's exciting. So he's going to be the 5th member of the Blackpool Combat Club for Blood and Guts. I didn't see that one coming, really. Probably should have. Even though they never had really much. I'm going to say probably should have. When I've been thinking about people that were away that could do it.
Yeah.
I still kind of bought into the fact that CM Punk might end up in Blood and Guts somehow. But I
mean, Pac makes sense. He alluded to the built-in rivalry he has with Kenny.
Yeah. And then Ibushi will be the 5th member of the Elite, the Golden Elite, as it were.
Sign me up. Sign me up. This is going to be amazing next week.
Like a fucking Wednesday match.
It's crazy. And we talk about it all the time. Like, wrestling fans are spoiled. The fact that this is just for free on TV next week. And damn, Ibushi, one of the biggest stars in wrestling in the entire world, just going to show up for free. You ain't got to pay no money. That's wild. You know,
I was just thinking about it today. I was thinking about what you said about Collision being the eventually being the A show, and then I was like, well, maybe it's going to be sooner than we expected. But then you got them doing shit like this on a Wednesday night.
Yeah. When I mean Collision is the A show, I mean like in terms of like the quality. Like they would never put Blood and Guts on Saturday.
Yeah,
it ain't like. Especially when football season rolls around, it's going to be interesting to see what the ratings look like because there's just going to be a lot of people who are going to watch college football and watch Collision on Sundays on their DVR. So the big time matches like the Blood and Guts, that'll still be on Wednesdays. But I think in terms of quality, week to week, Collision has been so far, and I think will be going forward just a better show.
Yeah.
But I'm ready for the spectacle of Blood and Guts with damn Ibushi. If you've never seen a Ibushi match, you can go on YouTube, but you can also go on the WWE Network. Cruiserweight Classic from maybe 5-6 years ago. Ibushi was in there. I mean, he looked like $1 million then. He looks like $1 million now.
Yeah, it's exciting.
Do they sign him to a full-time deal, you think? Or is this a one-off?
Feels like a one-off. I don't know.
It feels like it, but I think
I don't know the contract situation, though.
Yeah, well, like Ibushi was in New Japan, but they had a huge falling out, and you know, Kenny, Omega, and Ibushi have a long history with each other. There's some pretty fantastic breakdowns of their two careers intertwining with each other on YouTube that you can kind of look up. Apparently, there was a lot of like fan fiction from Japanese girls back in the day of like Omega and Ibushi being together, but you can find that stuff on YouTube if you want.
I think I'll probably pass on that.
It's pretty interesting, man. to watch the levels of like the Shield had the same thing. You weren't watching WWE at the time, but like, yeah, there's a lot of like really strange fan fiction of like Dean Ambrose and Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns like all being together, and there were like different offshoots. Fucking wrestling fans they're weird, man. But I'm excited as hell for Ibushi.
Yeah, man. I mean, I think it's gonna be. I mean, you could put the 4 of them in there together and it would be fun. But now you've got the added value of him and then Pac in the other corner.
Yeah. Who wins?
And do we get the payoff of Kenny getting his hands on Don Callis at the end, like he promised last night?
Is Don Callis going to take a bump off a cage?
No.
I think I would think about it if I was in that room. You know what I mean? Like, hey, we should put this out here. All right.
He might be a little skittish after the gash that's currently in his forehead.
Oh, yeah. From just a damn normal looking forearm smash that went a little sideways. Yeah, I don't know.
I think that didn't he hit something on like?
Yeah, he smashed. Yeah.
So yeah, man. I mean, there's a lot of wrestling happening every week, right? You know, like Collision looks fucking great. It's fun. Dynamite has been better the last couple weeks. I feel like
SummerSlam is August the 5th.
Yeah, I mean that's a couple weeks away.
August the 27th.
Yeah.
All Out is literally the next week. So,
this is a thing we didn't talk about yet. the Warner Brothers has been like, hey, we want y'all to do more pay-per-views, right?
That was just some news that got broke.
So Fightful posted that yesterday, and it looks like they're wanting to see more pay-per-views. And the rumors, because they didn't mention this, but the rumors are that it would be through Max, right? Because they're not going to expect people to pay $50 more than 4 times a year.
I can't.
I fucking can't either.
I can't. That's $600 a year.
Yeah.
I cannot do that.
So that would be cool because we notoriously hate the fucking Bleacher Report app.
There's that. Yeah, that's number one reason.
Yeah. That would be ideal. And, you know, if they're the ones that are putting up the money for all this shit and are like, hey, we can make this happen, then that's a way better deal. And maybe they could buy them out of their Bleacher Report deal.
Well, and number 2, you have to think about I don't know how many people subscribe to Max. It's probably a lot larger number than what watch AEW week in, week out. And so that's something too.
Then all of a sudden you got
new fans, right? You got people who are bringing on their Max app, and there's fucking Hangman Page and Kenny Omega on the front screen. You're like, well, what's this? Or you get a kid that, you know, randomly clicks on it and starts watching it. So
yeah, I mean, I pay for Max every month, so I'd welcome it. Any money that I don't have to get a fucking Bleacher Report and their shitty fucking app, I'm for.
Well, and there's a lot of, like, you know, for these streaming companies, there's a lot of benefit to having some type of live programming on the service, right? Amazon, prime example. What do? They go out, they partner with, I think,
NFL.
The NFL, Thursday Night Football, and then I think they have some baseball on there. Apple TV goes out and gets Major League Soccer. You can watch MLS on Apple TV. Like, you know, for these streaming companies to kind of diversify what it is they do. And AEW would be an easy thing to get into because, you know, it has a built-in fan base of, you know, 700,000, 800,000.
4 years worth of content.
Yeah, you have a huge back catalog that you can just flood your service with. I would love to go back and watch Dynamite's, you know, from the first.
Yeah.
And plus, you know, what do they do with Ring of Honor? Does it get folded into Max in this deal?
Oh, that would be ideal. Because that's one that I haven't sprung for recently. Because I was like, that's just more money and more time invested every week. But I would love to get it for a month or two and see a handful of things. And if I'm already paying for it, you can bet your ass I'm going to watch a bunch of the fucking. And
I think Max has a deal with AT&T. I think that's how I have Max. Because I have an AT&T Unlimited plan. And I just get Max for free. So yeah, you know, if you scrolled on the side of Max and it had like Discovery Channel and then there was a damn AEW just like there is on Peacock, there's a big benefit to that. It's also crazy that AEW has come this far in such a short amount of time. You know, people love to look at the television ratings and point to that and say, oh, AEW's fan base is dying. I don't know how much stock I put into those numbers because like I rarely watch AEW live. I also don't have AEW through cable. I don't know if those Nielsen ratings look at people who have cut the cord.
Yeah, I don't know how any of that works.
AEW's fan base is probably, you know, for the most part lives online. Those people are really tech savvy. How many of those people are illegally, quote unquote, watching AEW through different streams? So,
yeah, that's a good point. I mean, I don't know how they get those numbers these days because I don't know very many people that are still on a cable or satellite. I mean, my parents are.
Yeah, I've never met anybody that had a Nielsen box in their house.
It's true.
So,
true.
I don't know how much stock I have. You know, I think Meltzer had a quote this past week, like, wrestling is as hot now as it's been since like 2001, which is like the tail end of the Attitude Era. And it kind of feels that way. Now, I get that we're way more insulated to us being wrestling fans. You know, all of these algorithms from social medias, they all just feed us more wrestling content. But it does seem like there's a buzz that's happening. AEW, the independents in America and around the world, New Japan, like it feels like a lot of people are consuming wrestling in some form or the other.
Yeah. Well, I think that'll wrap it up for us for this week, y'all. If you would, please follow us on all the socials at Alabama Slam Pod for Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. We're trying to post videos on those on the reg. Twitter, not so much because we don't really get any interactions off of those videos that we've been posting.
I'm waiting for Musk to just get the hell beat out of him by old Zuckerberg. And if you were Tony Khan, how much would you offer those two men to have it happen
on Wednesday night
at All In?
Oh,
Wembley.
yeah.
80,000 people. We got MJF versus whoever. We got Ospreay and Kenny Omega 3, the rubber match, the greatest trilogy of all time. We got fucking Elon Musk versus Mark Zuckerberg in a steel cage for reals. And that's how I would do. I'd do some Vince Russo type of shit. It was like, hey, this is the rest of the show is fake, but this is the real stuff right here. Yeah, we're going to go off script. Musk can do whatever. Zuckerberg can do whatever.
What a fucking shit show, man.
I think I'm not joking. I'd pay $100 for that.
For real?
Yeah.
No way, cuz.
To watch two billionaires? This is as dystopian as it gets. The fucking richest people in the world are going to just fight each other. This ride that we call Earth, we're on the tail end of it, baby. Buckle up. It ain't going to last too much longer. Just enjoy it.
The Earth is on fire out there. You can't walk your dog without breaking a sweat, son.
We about to shut this damn thing down. We got to enjoy it while it lasts. So put them in a cage. Let them go.
Yeah, man. If y'all are new to the show, tell your friends about us if you appreciate it. I think we might be getting a little pickup action via some of the social stuff, a little interaction there, but we'd appreciate it. And leave us a review on Apple Podcasts and or Spotify. That helps get more eyeballs looking at us and listening to us with your ear holes. So yeah, we'd appreciate it. And if you want a t-shirt, go to tpublic.com and just search for the Alabama Slam podcast. A couple of different designs there. And new podcast alert. Friend of the show, cousin of the show, Mallory McCormick has a new show called The Stare Down that starts Monday, I believe. It's a sports podcast from a female perspective. She knows more about football than I do, and that is no fucking joke. And has known more about football than I have for quite some. Most of my male friends, she could outsmart you when it comes to football. New podcast starts Monday. There's Tuesday at the alabamatake.com is taking it down. It's a weekly pop culture podcast. We're in a new season of This Song Sucks right now. Title says it all. They talk about songs that are shitty, and a monthly book podcast by my lovely wife called Check Your Shelf about books. And I think she's going to go to bi-monthly soon. So check all those out if you don't mind at thealabamatake.com and on all socials. Yeah, man, we appreciate it. And we'll talk to y'all next week.
Later, guys.